Hi, Moms. Convention of States Michigan is here for you. This is TimeOut with Convention of States Moms. So grab your tea, your coffee, your cocktail, depending on what time of day you're watching this. It's time for your timeout. Finishing up my coffee for the morning here. So here we go. So mama bears have this innate desire to protect our homes and protect our kids, right? We keep our homes and our families safe. We've spent the past few weeks now, since we started our series here with our Timeout series with Convention of States Moms, introducing this concept of having a Convention of the States and what that could mean for you, your family, for the future of this country, for our Constitution. And I'm sure many at this point, if not all of you, have never heard of actually having a Convention of the States. You've never heard of Article 5 or read it, or had the occasion to read it potentially in school, or had the ability to actually bring all the states together to propose these types of constitutional amendments that we're talking about with the Convention of States project. So how do we know that we can trust it? How do we know that it's safe? How can we guarantee what's going to be discussed and negotiated? How do we know that the end result won't actually hurt our Constitution or destroy our Constitution even more so than it already is? How can we stop any potential outsiders, right, from potentially infiltrating a convention and potentially running away with a Convention of the States? You are correct to ask these questions, Mom. If these thoughts and these concepts and these questions seem foreign to you or seem odd to you, you are correct to ask these types of questions. You are correct to be skeptical. You need to be. And it's a good way to be able to ask these types of questions. And that's why I'm here, right? That's why we get to have this time out together for a few minutes every other week, because these types of questions and concerns are all part of this idea of having a runaway convention. And that potentially might be a concept or an idea that you have potentially heard about. And I want to make sure I address that with all of you today. So let's talk about it. And here's how we know that we actually can trust the Article 5 process. First of all, we know that we can trust the Article 5 process because it's in the Constitution. We have the constitutional authority, the legal authority given to us by our framers, given to us by the founding fathers, to actually hold an Article 5 Convention of the States. If it couldn't be trusted, if we weren't sure what the end result was going to be, if we weren't sure how it was going to go, it wouldn't even be in Article 5 in the first place, right? So that way we know, because our framers trusted this type of process, we know that we can too, right? We also know what will be discussed and negotiated at having a convention, at this type of convention, because all of the states are agreeing to all the same proposals, the same agenda items, term limits, limiting federal spending, a return to federalism, a return to states' rights. These are the only topics that will be entertained and negotiated at this type of convention, because that is what the states are agreeing to in the first place when they pass their resolutions, their applications to even hold a convention in the first place. Third, we know that we can trust this convention process, this Article 5 process, because the delegates who are attending the convention, negotiating, eventually voting on any constitutional amendment proposals, those delegates, those commissioners are actually legally charged individuals. They are legally bound in much the same way that you would see members of the Electoral College or precinct delegates who get sent to state conventions, things like that, who are also legally charged, legally bound in that same way. They are only going to entertain, they are adhering to the rules within the resolutions that are all getting passed, and they are only going to talk about and negotiate the proposals that were agreed to in the first place. If any other person or any other group attempts to kind of change the topic of conversation or the topics of the convention, it's going to be dismissed out of hand because there's no legal authority for even doing so in the first place, for having that type of conversation in the first place. It certainly isn't going to get voted on, right? Much less actually negotiated, talked about, discussed in any way, much less actually voted on and getting voted out of the convention. Additionally, we know that this type of convention process would work because per Article 5, any proposed amendments then have to also be ratified by 2/3 of the states, right? So we have a convention, and however long it takes. We vote out any amendments any amendment proposals that come out of the convention. Anything coming out of the convention still isn't actually legally binding in any way. It then also has to be ratified by 2/3 of the states. And that, once again, is specifically written right within Article 5 itself. This is 38 states, moms, 38 states, and the state legislatures within those states have to actually ratify any amendment proposals. So another way of putting this, right, another way of thinking about it, is that we actually need approval from 76 state chambers to ratify any amendment proposals. So another way of putting it, an even different way of putting it, is that it actually only takes 13 states to refuse ratification of any amendment proposals in order to keep those proposals from passing or from becoming legally binding in any way. So it's an uphill battle, right? It's not designed to be easy. It's not designed to just be able to pass amendments and propose these types of things, willy-nilly, just offhandedly. So it's an uphill battle to get these types of amendments ratified, and it's basically going to be impossible for anyone, an impossible battle, looking for anyone to destroy any current concepts that are in the Constitution or try to work outside those three proposals, those three agenda items that we talked about just a few minutes ago. So our Constitution wouldn't be our most foundational, concrete law enforcement document if it was easy to bend and change, right? If it was designed to just change with the times, if it was designed to be a living and breathing document that just bends with the whims of the cultures of the times. We have to work hard to make sure that we preserve it to stay that way as well. So now moms, make sure your kids know too. Make sure you're able to discuss these types of ideas and this type of Article 5 process with your kids so that they know that process is available to them as well. And you might be moms, you might be the only ones who introduce these types of concepts to your kids and to have these types of civics conversations with your kids. So make sure that your kids know too. So if you have any questions or if you want to learn more, if you want to get involved with our Convention of States process, please feel free to do so. Our Michigan team would love to have you come on board in a variety of capacities in a whole bunch of different ways. We would love to have you on board. Feel free to email me any questions, or if you're looking to get involved in any way, askmi@cosaction.com. We'll get you an email right to me, and I'll be able to get you answering your questions, get you pointed in the right direction, whatever it is that you would want to do. So thank you guys for tuning in. We will see you back here next week or in a couple weeks.